Okay, good morning, students. Today we are going to begin working on our color wheel and learn how to mix paints together so that we can get the pigment and the color that we want. So this is a completed color wheel. This is what it will end up looking like when you're finished, hopefully nice and neat. So let's go ahead and begin. So today I have started with my 3 primary colors. This is actually dry black paint from yesterday. And really all you're going to need is red, yellow, and blue in order to make all the colors of the rainbow. So I have my water. I also have my paper towel. And I'm going to go ahead and get started. So yesterday we painted a value scale. So today is going to be very similar to that. With mixing your colors. So I've already laid out 2 of my primaries, red and yellow. Also notice that on our color wheel here, you're going to put your primaries and your secondaries in 2 places. So red in 2 places, yellow in 2 places, blue also in 2 places, and then your secondaries will do the same. Okay, so don't forget that. Also be really careful when you're putting your color. Make sure you put your color in the right section. Okay, when you're finished, it should look just like this: yellow at the top, red to the right, and blue to the left. Okay, so in a nice color wheel. Okay, so everything kind of fades into the next color. So I'm going to just quickly demonstrate one more time how to do this. I take my paint, because this paint is so thick, I'm going to actually move it over a little bit, and I'm going to add a little bit of water to that so I can thin it down a little bit. Now because our paint isn't the best quality, it's going to be a little thin, it's going to be a little see-through. We call that transparent. But that's okay. You'll just learn how to work with it. So I always roll my brush kind of back into a point. And when I paint, let me zoom in a little bit here. I'm going to use the edge of my paintbrush. Okay, so I'm going to actually slide along the edge here. When I come to a corner, I'm going to lift and flip my brush over and then kind of pull it towards me. When I get to that corner again, I'm going to use the edge of my brush. And then if I have this tight corner here, I can actually kind of twist my brush into a point to get into there. You'll have to do that for these smaller corners here. And now I can just go ahead and fill this in. You see how it's a little transparent. Our paint is going to take a little bit of time to get what we call opaque. You might have to do a couple coats. Another trick would be to add a smidge of white. Will help to make your paint what we call opaque, or so it's not transparent. So don't forget, I'm also going to go ahead and put blue in this side, because this is blue here and blue here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Using the edge of my paintbrush, trying to keep it nice and clean. Try to keep it nice and neat. Craftsmanship is really important in this class. There we go. I'm rushing. You guys are going to take your time. Okay, so now that I have my 3 primaries completed, I didn't have to mix anything for these. So now the next step is to go ahead and mix 2 primaries together to get my secondary. Okay, so for example, I'm going to mix yellow and red here to get orange. I'm going to mix blue and red here to get violet or purple. I'm going to mix blue and yellow here to make green. So the idea is your green, your secondary, want to be a nice balanced color. They don't want to be too much of one color, and they don't want to be too much of another color. So for example, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start with orange, I think. Now when you rinse your brush out, you want to make sure it's nice and clean, that there is absolutely no color in there. Okay, otherwise you will have some problems. So I'm going to go ahead and actually I'm going to start by mixing my lighter color first. So I'm going to go ahead and move my yellow over, and I'm just going to take a smidge of red, and I'm going to mix this until I get a pretty decent orange. Now to me, that looks a little on the yellow side, so I'm going to add a little bit more red to to that. Maybe mix up a little bit more. See, now I added too much red there. So now I need to add more yellow. Looks pretty good. So same thing. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my orange in two places. I might need to come back and adjust this once I mix my other colors. Use the edge of my brush, get that clean line. Remember, right before I hit that corner, I'm going to lift up. There we go. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to paint this orange as well, okay? You take your time. I'm not taking my time, I'm rushing. Lift up when you get to those pointy corners. Watch, lift and twist your brush to get into those tiny corners. Lift and twist it. We'll twist that brush back into a point. See how when my brush is flat like this, is it going to focus on there? If I turn it sideways, then I have a point. So that's how I get into those corners, okay? So I'll go ahead and I'll do that with all of my primaries. And then the next step is to go ahead and mix primary with a secondary to get a tertiary or an intermediate color. So this one here would be a yellow orange. So I'm gonna go back to my orange. And now I'm gonna add more yellow to this till again, it's a pretty good balance. See, that looks pretty dark still to me. So I'm gonna go ahead and add some more yellow. There we go. Let's try that. Okay, back to my color wheel. Oops. Yellow, orange. That might work. Okay, so for our intermediate colors or our tertiary colors, you only need to put it in one spot. There's not two spots here. Go ahead and fill it in. And like I said, if you end up completing your color wheel and realize that a color is off, just go ahead and paint right over it. It's not a big deal. There we go. Something like that. Okay. There's a glare. So I might fill that in a little bit more. Once again, just be really careful that you put your colors in the correct space as you go. If you make a mistake, you can always paint it over with white, let it dry, and come back to it the next day. Make sure that you do a great job of cleanup, and how we do that is we're just gonna rinse out our brush real quick, really good. Rinse it off on your paper towel, roll it back into a point. Brushes come to me on the way out the door. Make sure there's no paint in there. Put your paint palettes back in the drawer, dump your cup, wipe off your desk. Make sure that you have your name on your color wheel and put it in the dry rack in the correct section. And good luck!